Hello and welcome to the fall 2014 season premiere of Technology and the Arts. My name is Brian Kelley,
And I'm John LeMasney.
and together we're going to explore the connections between technology and art. John, it's good to see you again. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Brian. How are you?
Doing excellent. Thanks for asking. What you been up to lately?
Well, consulting is going really well. In the event that you or your company or a friend of yours or anybody you know needs some help with computers, technology, infrastructure, problem solving, go to lemasney.com, lemasney.com, and let's have a conversation about how I can help you. Besides all that, I've been doing a lot of work with organizations in migrating away from other solutions to Google applications. Been working with libraries in order to help both patrons and libraries to integrate technology better. And been learning a lot about some of the things that I have not focused on as much as I would like to have in the past, like Arduino and JavaScript and coding in general, and it's been a lot of fun. How about you?
Well, if I can get back to this script here, our outline. I remember what I was going to talk about. Well, actually, I guess first, I'm almost through a year of transformation, I guess. Some weight loss. I haven't lost as much as I wanted to, but I'm almost there. And I think the last time we did this, when we had the special episode on Trenton Computer Festival in the spring, I think I had just run in the maybe not, but I ran in the Broad Street Run back in early May. And a couple weeks ago, I did the Hightstown, New Jersey Sprint Triathlon, which was a quarter-mile swim in a lake, in Petty Lake in Hightstown, 15-mile bike ride, and a 5K run. And this coming Sunday, I'll be doing the Atlantic City International Triathlon, which is a 1-mile swim, 20-mile bike ride, and a 10K. And then in November, I'll be doing the Trenton Half Marathon. So doing all these athletic events and did some training when I had some free time, but that free time is gone because I now have a full-time job doing PR marketing for a prestigious regional theater based in central New Jersey, and it's been an amazing experience so far. And actually, I just found out today I'm going up to New York City tomorrow for a read-through with the actors, a meet and greet as well with the actors who will be in our first main stage production of the season. So that's going to be pretty fun.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And next year I'm not going to have a chance to do any of this because my wife and I are having our second child.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And also, somehow, I still have to mention this, even though I talked about it ad nauseum all last season. But remember that accordion part I recorded for my friend and former guest, Christian Beach,
Yes.
on his cover of Yoko Ono's Silver Horse? Well, that album still has not come out yet, but supposedly Cut Pieces, a tribute to Yoko Ono, is finally being released by Main Man Records, supposedly on September 30th. I've seen the artwork and saw the special landing page designed for the CD. It's not out there publicly yet, but as soon as that is ready for public consumption, I will post links in various places and share that. So that's basically what I've been up to since we last talked to each other and last had a Technology in the Arts episode. And when we announced that we were going to be coming back for our new season a few weeks ago, we said that we're going to be focusing on a specific theme for most of the episode. And so for this week's episode, we're going to be talking about cord cutting. Shedding cable TV providers and going with internet-based services and subscriptions, and we'll discuss some of the options out there as well as pros and cons, because it's definitely not for everyone, at least not yet, but it is getting there. So, John, I know you're much more of a cable cutter, much more into the cable cutting movement and practiced cable cutting, than I am. So, if you want to, start out with some general comments.
Sure. Well, I, for most of the last 2 years, have been without cable, and it corresponds with my movement to this apartment, which has been longer than that. I did have Verizon, which I still have Fios for my internet connectivity, because cable cutting is not about, or cord cutting is not about not having internet, but rather not having cable specifically, a television service. I also don't have phone service because I have a cell phone, right? So I would say that my primary reasons for being a cable cutter are, I really have been very, very frustrated in the past with most cable services. I feel like there's all this overhead that gets in the way of you being able to get to your content, when in reality, I really only want to watch maybe 7 shows at a time in a given season, right? And so instead of me paying the extra $30 a month or so that I would pay in order to get a cable package, and probably more than that, because I have to pay for a DVR and I have to pay for the box that provides DRM allowances, and have to deal with the nonsensical way that you have to navigate through in order to get to what you want. And I've been very frustrated with that too. I'll go and start up my TV and I'll say, I really want to watch X right now. And 20 minutes later, it seems like, I still am not watching X, because I had to, and Verizon especially frustrated me with this, if I wanted to go to Watch Now, or whatever, I even forget. It's a lovely thing that I forget, but I forget what that is called. It's not pay-per-view, but it's like, I want to
On demand?
On demand, thank you. You would have to navigate through. The navigation is horrible. And meanwhile, like, I have a browser, and when I want something on the internet, I go to Google, I do a search for it, and I'm there. It should work at least that easily in being able to watch media of any kind, especially since I'm paying all this money. So I essentially really wanted to watch shows on AMC and FX, and recently only AMC. And so my only caveats that I can find for my personal viewing, and I watch a lot of media, is that I'm not able to see Mad Men. I'm not able to see. I wasn't able to see Breaking Bad like as soon as it came out. And so my alternative was to buy it on Amazon, or to buy it somewhere else, or in my case, quite honestly, to go torrent it. And I would not advocate that, except that it's sometimes difficult to find that content in a legitimate way. And if you want to see other people making the argument for why torrenting is sort of a last resort, but it is possibly the solution that you'll come up with, go and look at the Oatmeal and his argument for how difficult it is to legitimately, legally get to content without paying for cable when it's cable-based content, because AMC and other cable-based providers sometimes make it exceptionally difficult to get to that content. Comedy Central is very good about it. Relationships with Netflix between cable-based providers and Netflix have gotten better, because this is the way that people want to watch. And so I do pay for Amazon Prime, and quite honestly, I don't get my money's worth from the shipping, the free shipping. I get my money's worth from being able to see some shows that don't appear on Netflix. But for the most part, it's Netflix. And HBO Go has been talking about the idea of making it able to be subscribed to outside of having a cable contract. And when that happens, I mean, I would like to have Showtime, because there are certain things I would really love to watch on Showtime. I would love to have HBO Go, legitimately, legally. Quite honestly, between you and me, I have it. But it's not mine. It's me borrowing somebody else's account. And HBO, quite honestly, doesn't really care about that, because they still get a benefit from that content being watched and loved and blah, 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 and somebody's paying for it. So between HBO Go, I would like to have Showtime, Netflix, and Amazon Prime, it's very seldom that I can't get a hold of something that I want to watch. And if I need to, I will resort to torrenting, or I'll look on Amazon and see how expensive it is. But usually it's exorbitantly expensive to see something. I did recently purchase the 3rd season of Louie, or the 4th season of Louie, because I really love that show. And it was $2 an episode, and it was well worth the $2 an episode. It was fantastic. So I wish that it was simultaneously available on Netflix, but with the development that's been going on Amazon Originals and Netflix Originals, I really am not missing much. It certainly is not the case that I am ever wanting for something to watch on my big screen. So this, combined with Comcast, the $35 HDMI dongle that allows me to pick up my tablet or pick up my phone or open up my browser and be able to get what's on my screen, whether it be media or whether it be content from one of the app providers like Netflix, onto my screen, that's been beautiful. And that, combined with Plex, which is the server-based, it's a media server that you run on your machine where all your media is stored, and are able to easily not only get it to your Chromecast or your Roku, but also to get it to your friends. So if you had a Plex account, for example, and you had it on the machine where all of your media resides, you could make a relationship with me, because I have an account on Plex and you would have an account on Plex, both of which are free. I'd be able to share my content with you, and you'd be able to share your content with me. And it does not mean that anybody outside of our circle would be able to see it. But it's no different than you making a VHS copy of your content and handing it to me, because the quality is not prime quality. It's maybe as good as your video right now. And so
that's actually when the way you describe it, because I remember you back in our early days, in our old-fashioned podcasting days. It was actually, I remember we were at Panera Bread recording, and you mentioned your dream was to have a service where you could have media and share it with somebody in your circle.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I do not miss cable in the least. Now, you have a special case because you are so driven by sports. I'm not. And so for me, as long as I can get documentaries and relatively recent movies and television series, in whatever format they come in, usually in the form of Netflix, I'm happy. I could not possibly be happier. And for me to be able to go on to Plex and to be able to connect to my friend's server and send that to my television, even though he or she is miles and miles and miles away, is such a beautiful thing. And Plex manages MPEG-4, AVI, MPEG-3, photos, so I can take my entire photo collection and make it available to somebody, or some portion of my photo collection, and make it available to somebody. I can take all of my movies or a portion of my movies and make them available. It has all of the features that you would expect from a media service, like ratings, and it automatically goes up to certain services, grabs cover photos, it grabs subtitle files, and goes and grabs them, downloads them, and makes them available, and according to my settings will automatically begin to play the subtitles along with my media. We live in such a wonderful time, and it is mostly manageable by me. It's not necessarily open, which I would prefer, but what it is gloriously easy for me to get to what it is that I want to watch, usually movies on Netflix or movies that I have ripped off of DVDs, and make them available on my big screen, even though my movies might not even be in this apartment. They might be somewhere else.
Right. Well, and you mentioned my issues with cord cutting, which, in theory, I'd be all on board with. But you mentioned, I'm a sports fan, and, online sports packages are limiting. I mean, even though they exist, and you could watch sports online and stream those, to your TV, it's expensive, and then there's the local blackouts. So you can't even get your local team. So if you live in the market of your favorite team, like I live in the Philly market, I like the Phillies. I could subscribe to MLB.TV, but I can't watch the Phillies games. I can watch all the other games, but I can't watch the team that I want to see, even though I'm paying that money, which is phenomenally stupid. I still don't understand how the sports leagues get away with that. But I mean,
it's a leftover from a previous time.
Yeah, and I still don't understand how nobody has figured out we're not in that time anymore. I mean,
because that time meant money for those organizations, and they don't want to lose that money. But meanwhile, they could make a lot more if they could engage the users and give them what they want, as opposed to holding on to a former time.
All right.
But that's cable in general. I mean, Comcast. Think about the Ryan Block Comcast call where it was a recording.
Right. Right.
Ryan Block was trying to cancel his service and went on for 20 minutes trying to retain that service.
Right, because Comcast had directed that every call had to be a cell.
Right. Exactly right.
And even though as embarrassing that call was, Comcast then, didn't even, say, oh, we're so sorry for that experience. They actually came out and said, oh, well, that customer service person did a lot of the things we instruct them to do. It's like they didn't even apologize for it. They owned it, which is phenomenally crazy. And I'm saying phenomenally too much in this episode, but yeah, that was nuts. That Comcast basically said, yeah, that's what we tell them to do. So I mean that alone tells you where the cable TV industry is. I
don't necessarily think that Verizon is any better. I don't think that whether it be Comcast or Verizon or even DirecTV. I had DirecTV for a long time and really loved the service, but it was the same kind of a thing. At the time when I had DirecTV, there wasn't such a mandate to have all these boxes where, for every TV there was a box. But even if you just have a single device, a single television, it seems like so much trouble. I had to reboot my Verizon box every day when I had it because it would just freeze. It would freeze up, or it wouldn't show me the things that I paid for or whatever. And it wasn't like I was trying to get over on the system. I was trying to pay into the system in order to get what I wanted. And it just was, wow, it was horrible.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because just before I came down to start this webcast. I just recently purchased Starz on our Verizon service because my wife she saw they had a free preview when Outlander premiered, the new series on Starz, which by the way was influenced by an old Doctor Who episode um, from the Patrick Troughton era. But she watched it and she hinted that she wanted to see more episodes. So the other night I just happened to buy it and she was going to try to catch up on the episodes that she missed, and she went to On Demand and it was coming out. It was all scrambled. They couldn't stream it. So I had to reboot our box. So.
Yes. Well, it seems like there's always an effort to protect the content as opposed to an effort to make it easy for somebody who's paying for the content to get to it. And that's a lot different than Netflix. Netflix is a buffet, and Comcast is I don't even know what the equivalent is. Sort of like one of those sushi bars with the rotating sushi. Every time you want to bite, you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
I just prefer the buffet, and I may not even I'll pay for the right to have whatever I want, and I may not use it. Same is true for music, The fact that I can take my device and I can open it up and have access to everything right now, essentially for the like $14 a month, essentially, between Netflix and Amazon. That's I think what I'm paying.
Yeah, and that's that's reasonable. And getting back to sports, I mean that was the one thing when I was looking at the prices. I mean I know it was pricey, but so if I wanted to watch all 4 U.S. professional major sports leagues, full seasons, MLB is $129.99, which when you consider how many games there are, is actually not a bad deal. And you get the MLB at Bat app for free, the mobile app for free, so you can watch on your mobile device. So $130, not bad, but again, no local teams. There's a blackout if you're living in the market of your favorite team. NFL, and don't even get me started on the NFL after this debacle today. I mean I'm not even going to go there, but I'll just say they totally messed up this Ray Rice situation, like phenomenally once again, and I don't think I have used it more fittingly than I just did.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, get caught up on it. It's disturbing and disgusting, and the NFL is a PR nightmare right now. But to get their Sunday ticket package for your laptop or mobile device, it's $329.94 for the season.
Wow, I just picture. I'm so outside of the sports phenomenon. Like I'm not a gamer, not into sports. It seems so crazy to me that the teams that you want to see, you're not able to see, right?
Right.
And you still are paying $330 a month or $330 bucks a month?
I think with NFL you do get your home team. I think it still applies with NHL and NBA, but NFL I think it's different because the blackout rules are based on attendance, home attendance, and so as long as the Eagles sell out, which they will, their home games, I think they're covered because that's the way broadcast works. So say the Eagles, there's a certain number they have to hit to consider a sellout. It doesn't have to be a total sellout, but there's a number that they have to hit in order for it to be considered a sellout. And as long as they reach that, which they will do for the foreseeable future, their home games won't be blacked out in the home market. But there were times back, when they stunk, that wasn't the case. Sometimes you wouldn't be able to watch the Eagles if they had a home game because they wouldn't sell out. And sometimes a local station will buy the tickets, but if it's too much to overcome, which it was back in the day, back at the Vet when they were terrible and they were in a crappy stadium, the broadcaster wasn't the local station wasn't going to buy the tickets because it wasn't worth their effort. So there were times back in the dark ages that the Eagles would be blacked out, but I don't think that applies to NFL. But I think it does still to NHL and NBA. And that's $159 for NHL's streaming video package, and the digital-only subscription for the NBA is actually starts at $149. So, I mean, to basically get all four, for each season, each league season, I mean, we're talking close to $800, and that's crazy. And for me, the game changer would be, to get some of those blackout rules abolished, especially in baseball. And the FCC has actually been pushing for it. And I know during the last offseason there was talk that baseball was going to finally, get rid of it, but apparently they're still going to, they're going to come back around this offseason. I think the FCC is still trying to get them to relent on that. But and the other thing would be, if offering, like, I don't understand how they don't offer, like, favorite team packages. Like, it's either all or nothing. Like, when I'm watching TV, I get the games in my home market. I get, I'm a Phillies fan because I'm in this area. That's how I became a Phillies fan. And, it just amazes me that you can't just, I just want to buy the Phillies games. I just want to buy Eagles games. I just want to buy Flyers and Sixers. If it was like $30 a year, that's a lot better than $800. I would do that. If it was like less than $200 combined for my teams, my pro teams, I would do that. But that's not an option right now, and I don't know if that's gonna even. I don't even think anybody's even talking about that. And then the other issue you talked about being a fan of Breaking Bad and the shows on AMC, and and my issue is Doctor Who. I'm diehard Doctor Who fan, and there's no legal streaming option right now that would give me access to BBC America content. I'd have to wait for an episode to get on iTunes or much later on Netflix. I mean, iTunes is like a day wait or something like that.
Well, this raises another issue for me. What it comes down to for me is that if you can be patient, everything's fine.
Right.
And so, like, for example, surprisingly, I was upset because I don't have cable. I don't even have an over-the-air antenna because I tried one that did not work here. And so I was not able to watch the FX series Cosmos, the reboot of the Carl Sagan bit with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I was upset about that, but quite honestly, I forgot about it. And every once in a while I would see something on Facebook and I would say, oh wow, I really wish I could watch that. And then it like popped up on Netflix after the season was over, and I was like, hey, and I was able to gorge it without commercials.
Nice, yeah.
What was beautiful about that was if I had been able to watch it live, I would have enjoyed it less because all the commercials would have gotten in the way of me being able to enjoy it the way that I did when it was on Netflix, which is the way it should really be seen.
And that's true. I mean, that's the case with Doctor Who. I mean, BBC America puts so many commercials, and obviously the original versions don't have commercials because BBC doesn't have commercials. It's paid for by a viewer's license fee. Yeah. So, yeah. So, the Netflix versions, the DVD versions, correct that.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned the over-the-air digital antenna. That's a solution to the sports thing. But again, you mentioned, like, they're hit and miss. It's I've heard some good things and some bad things. I mean, so I don't know how reliable the digital antennas are. I think it depends on where you are, your location, and being I'd be getting Philly signals. I don't know we're on the northern fringes of the Philly market, so I don't know. I don't know if that would be an option.
On my car radio, I have a digital HD radio, and out where I am in Plainsboro, Philadelphia stations over the air are spotty at best. If I try to listen to NPR, for example, the Philly station is usually better than the New Jersey station, in my opinion, for NPR. And so I would just prefer to listen to a podcast. What do I care whether I hear something at 3 o'clock in the afternoon just because that's when it premiered? I would rather it just show up on my phone and I play it whenever I want.
Right.
And quite honestly, I wish everything was like that. I wish I could just subscribe to the Breaking Bad app and have it show up whenever, or use Netflix in order to allow me to watch it whenever. I don't care necessarily about the water cooler moments of being able to enjoy something in concert with the rest of everybody. I just want to be able to watch it. And so if I knew, for example, that a show that's currently hot is going to show up on Netflix 6 months after it premieres, I would just calm down and continue to pay Netflix. But things are not typically announced that way.
Right.
So I see here in the rundown that we're going to talk about the new Roku and TiVo devices.
Yes, I saw the New York Times review by one of our favorite podcasters.
Yeah.
Molly Wood.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can. I'm not going to play the video, but Yep. You know what I'm going to try to do.
Don't.
Yep. Except I can't find it now. Oh, screen share. There we go.
So I heard an overview of this device, and I thought it was interesting. There were 4 over-the-air, well, specifically the TiVo device with 4 over-the-air antenna connection capabilities and the ability to record those 4 signals concurrently.
Right. Yeah. So the thing about these devices is that yes, it's trying to reach out for the over-the-air market. Actually, I guess picking up from where Arrow fell, the company that was doing the kind of micro antennas. I'm not sure what they called them. I can't remember now, but
Another reason why I can't stand Comcast and their ilk.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Remember, the book that we read. John had tried to backstory. John tried to organize a book club, a digital or an e-book club, and only a couple of us wound up doing it. But the book we read was help me. What was the book you chose?
It was free by.
Yeah, but.
What's his name?
He's
a Wired publisher.
Yeah.
Hold on, I have it here.
Well, anyway, let me keep going. So in that book, it talked about how the cable industry was born out of piracy.
Yeah.
They basically were stealing signals of over-the-air stations and packaging them up and distributing them over cables to areas that had trouble receiving over-the-air transmissions.
Chris Anderson.
And what was that?
Chris Anderson.
No, that wasn't what we read.
Oh,
that wasn't it.
You're talking about the Electronic Frontier Foundation guy.
Yeah.
Right, because we couldn't read free because it was not free. I wanted a book.
Yeah, ironically. So it talked about how the cable industry was born, from stealing these transmissions from content producers and distributing them to people, who lived in these rural areas that couldn't get over-the-air broadcasts, and they there were lawsuits and challenges, but the cable companies, prevailed for the longest time. It wasn't until later, I think, that they had to start paying like the license fees. But that time took, or that time where they had free reign, allowed the industry to grow and prosper. And by the time they had to start paying, they could afford it. So, and here's this company, Arrow, who was kind of doing the same thing, but in a modern way. And the cable industry and the broadcasters just, shot them down. And this time the courts were like, no, yeah, you have to pay for this. So, I mean, that was the ironic part about all that, was that Arrow didn't get the same benefit of the doubt that the cable industry did in its heyday, and it was the cable industry that helped shut them down. So, I mean, that is really hypocritical. But anyway, so these devices, these Roku and TiVo devices, are are both designed to capture over-the-air digital broadcasts and trying to capture some of the consumers lost in the Arrow shutdown. And I've been keeping it on.
Yep.
Yep. I forgot how to get it off there. Nope. There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the Roku, what is the Roku smart TVs include a secret weapon. Instead of browsing one streaming service at a time for something to watch, these TVs let you search for a show, actor, or director across the most popular program sources. Now the thing about these is that there's a subscription to the TV guide listings, which I think it's like $15 a month. I may be wrong on that.
That seems high.
I'm trying to find. Yeah, one downside to TiVo is it's $15 a month service cost. Unlike some other TiVo models, there's no option with the Romeo OTA to pay for a lifetime subscription up front, so you'll definitely be trading one subscription for another. However, but Molly Wood says, however, $15 a month, even including the cost of subscriptions like Netflix or Hulu Plus and internet access, is still cheaper than most cable packages. But again, though, now you're limiting your options. I mean, if you're paying $15 a month just for the service, that might be one or two subscriptions you can't, you have to sacrifice. So there are still some drawbacks to these.
I mean, it depends. For me, if I had a good over-the-air signal here, the Romeo would be fantastic. I would probably gladly pay the $15 a month in order to have it. But
right, but if you're budgeting your, sometimes the reason for cable cord cutting is, budgeting is to say, oh, I can't afford cable.
In my particular case, it's part of the reason, but it's a relatively small part of the reason. I rely on media, and so I'm willing to pay when I'm willing to pay. If I'm willing to pay $7 a month to Google Music and $7 a month to Netflix and whatever a month, $70 a year to Amazon, what's another $15 in order to get prime content and not have to interact with the cable company? For me, it's mostly about my dislike for the cable company.
Right. I'm still on.
Yeah. No, you're not. You're fine.
No, I was on you, or I was on me while you were talking. Sorry. Someday I'll. There we go. Someday I'll figure this out.
there's a highlight indication of.
Yes, I know, but I was clicking on it and it wasn't going away. That finally did. So anyway, and actually, I just saw this today. Uh, have you seen this new TiVo storage unit?
No.
Hold on, let's show this. It's a $5,000, 24 terabyte DVR storage unit for high-end users. Can hold up to 4,000 hours of HD programming, about 5 months, or up to 24,000 hours of standard definition TV, which is about 3 years, according to this New York, oh no, sorry, Variety article.
Well,
So,
I mean, if I wanted to, I could pay $1,200 and set that up with Plex with the same storage capability.
all right.
So I mean,
But
I don't know whether almost $4,000 more is worth it for the TiVo interface when Plex does a pretty damn good job.
right. But I just saw that today, and I thought, that was ridiculously over the top. But it does. I mean, that's the one thing on my DVR. It's like finding the things to get rid of. There's so many things that I want to watch that I haven't seen yet, but I'm like, now that Retro TV is airing old Doctor Who episodes, the old Doctor Who episodes, William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton era. Actually, I guess there's not that much Patrick Troughton era left, but they're airing, the classic Doctor Who episodes like every night. And now with new episodes of modern Doctor Who on, it's like my DVR is, getting filled up very quickly.
Yeah, so. See, I mean, I don't have this problem because I've gone mostly to a streaming methodology. And when I'm not streaming and I'm using locally stored media, I'm only limited by hard drive space.
Right.
So, I mean, this is, like, I used to have to worry about that when I had a TiVo. We would, my ex-wife and I would fight over what was remaining on the television. Not fight, but, like, she would ask, can I get rid of that? And I'd be like, well, I'd really like to watch that, and I'd say, why don't you get rid of those episodes of Judge Judy or whatever? And it's like, I don't have to worry about things like that anymore from a media perspective, right? It's like I'm only limited by how much hard drive space is in here. And incidentally, I want to tell you about my new setup that I'm talking on. This is an amazing machine that I got at a surplus outlet for computer hardware. I got everything but the hard drive for $80, including 2 monitors, keyboard, mouse, and the CPU, with 8 gigs of RAM. It's like a 3.6 gigahertz machine. I went out and bought a 2 terabyte hard drive for $100, and I'm running Linux on it.
Wow.
It soars. What I was on before was Mac OS on a Mac Pro that was really like at its end of life. So for essentially $180, it is an amazing upgrade.
Wow, excellent. By the way, I've been wondering this whole time, is that a sonic screwdriver or an e-cigarette?
This is an e-cigarette.
Okay, just because it looks very much like a sonic screwdriver. Yeah. one of the next show, I'll have my sonic screwdriver, and you can have that, and we'll see what happens. But actually, the other night, I just wanted to quick side note. We were we were down in Brigantine, and we went to go see. I finally got my wife to see Guardians of the Galaxy, so I got to see it a second time. And afterwards, we went out for pie at a local diner. Actually, we went up having cake, but the place on the placemat there was an ad for an establishment. I thought you'd like the same Planet of the Vapes.
Yeah, I mean, New Jersey, there's some amazing vaping lounges popping up. There's one that's like my current favorite in Cherry Hill. That, I mean, it's called it is called Greatest Vapes, and they really know what they're doing there. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to get an upgrade relatively soon, and that's the place where I'm going to get it built. They do great work there.
Wait, these are custom built?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're called mechanical mods, and what it does is allows you to control with much greater finesse the voltage and the amount of vapor that you produce, and gives you a more intense flavor, and it's why anybody smokes, I have no idea.
Okay. Well, maybe we should do a future episode just on custom mods for e-cigarettes.
Oh, I would love to do that, because there's definitely an art to it, and it's loaded with technology.
Yeah, I would know nothing about it, so
It's cool stuff, even for somebody who doesn't participate. From a technology perspective, it's cool.
Okay.
Because now they're taking average users who know nothing about electric or electronics, and they're becoming electronic engineers to some degree, because they're making modifications to their devices in order to make them better producers of vapor.
Interesting.
It is very interesting.
Well, on that note, I guess we'll wrap up this fall 2014 season premiere of Technology and the Arts, unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
No, I don't think so. I think we are at the end.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Next Monday night, we'll be back to talk about art as community service. We'll look at how art and technology can bring communities together through libraries, co-teaching, co-working opportunities, and public events like the massively popular Art All Night in Trenton, New Jersey, which is near and dear to the hearts of myself and John. So in the meantime, you can stay up to date on the latest happening with the show by visiting technologyandthearts.com, going to our Facebook page, our Google Plus page, following us on Twitter at tech_arts, and also feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel and search for us via your favorite podcatcher. Until next time, for Technology and the Arts, this is Brian Kelley.
And this is John LeMasney. Take care.